Let's get into it now. A spoiler-free movie review of Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. I will say at the top of this review, when it comes to the level of Bruce Springsteen fan I am, out of 10, I'm about a 2. Going into this movie, if you ask me how many Bruce Springsteen songs do I know, I probably would have said 2. And sometimes I sit here and I listen to a bunch of music while I'm working on things, while I'm going through my notes. And I will say in the course of the last year, I will just randomly put on the 2 songs that I know because I do enjoy them. But I feel like the people who love Bruce Springsteen really love Bruce Springsteen, and his music just never spoke to me, was a little bit ahead of my time. I was more into the bands that were influenced by Bruce Springsteen, bands like Against Me, the Gaslight Anthem, Flatliners, this sound that kind of developed in the mid to late 2000s, early 2010s, that had his style of songwriting, the echo in the voice, the big anthems. I got into that for a very brief period, but he is just not one of my favorite artists. So going into it, I knew I was coming from, I don't want to say a negative place, but a place that the movie was going to have to win me over as a fan. And when I go watch a biopic about somebody who I'm not the biggest fan of, my sign of it being successful is, do I leave that theater and want to go listen to their music? It happened with Bohemian Rhapsody. It happened just last year with the Bob Dylan movie with Timothée Chalamet. To me, that is a sign of a good music biopic. But this one is a lot different because it doesn't attempt to tell his entire life story. It is based on a book and is really only focused on the time between 1981 to about 1982, where he was recording his album Nebraska, which was still early in his career. He had Born to Run already, but this album was a huge departure from what he was already known for, seen as a big risk. If you were to ask me before I went to go see this, I couldn't even name you one song from it, but now I know a whole lot about it. So instead of this movie trying to show you his entire life, why he is the way he is, his ups and downs, his highest moments, it doesn't show that at all. It really just focuses on that one period of time where he is starting to get that taste of fame. He has success. He's still not global superstar Bruce Springsteen, but he is recognizable. He is a bankable name. He is somebody that the record label now knows what they have. And he is struggling with that. With that taste of fame, he feels a lot of guilt. He doesn't know how to form relationships with women. He's also dealing with a lot of depression. So it starts with him closing a tour, getting away from the city, going back home to record what he thinks is just going to be the demos to his album Nebraska, super lo-fi. He has a 4-track recorder, which at this time was seen as something really experimental. Not many artists, if any, were recording things at their home, which now is just the norm. People record entire albums, never even have to leave their house, and they have studio quality. But at that time, wasn't something that you did, but he wanted these songs to breathe. He wanted them to really capture the emotion, and he didn't really set out to make an album this way. And his manager had to challenge him a little bit because he is his manager, but also ultimately at the end of the day know that I am here because of Bruce Springsteen. We are in the business of Springsteen, and whatever he says, I'm going to commit myself to as long as I know he is committed to 100%. And surprisingly, throughout the entire almost 2 hours of this movie, there is very little music. It starts with him opening up a big concert, so you get that feel, and Jeremy Allen White did all the singing in this movie, which is really hard to believe. I almost believe they weren't telling us the full truth in that because he sounds so much like him. He has that rasp, he has that onstage presence that really captures Bruce Springsteen. So I was like, man, he did a really good job at that because that really sells you on it. But you see those performances at the beginning, a little bit sprinkled in throughout with them going back into the recording studio, him recording it at home. But I would say out of the entire almost 2-hour runtime, 20% of it is music. A lot of it is a character study, and it ended up feeling like the most slice of life biopic that I've ever watched. And at times that was hard because if this movie was not based on Bruce Springsteen's life and it was just a movie out of context, just here you go, just watch this movie about somebody you have no idea about. If I were just watching this, not knowing this was based on real events, which it does stick pretty close to his real life because it is based on the book, where I think the only real liberty that they took was the love interest in this movie in his real life wasn't just one person. I think there were multiple women, and they decided just to take all those relationships and just put it into one character to have it fit into the story. Aside from that, all the things that he went through, it is exactly how it happened in real life. If I just looked at the events of this story, I don't think it is strong enough for a movie. There was not that big climax moment. And a thing that biopics that does get annoying, and now I'm realizing there's a fine balance in between because sometimes you watch a movie and they just embellish so much. They make them look like the biggest rock stars. They can't leave their house without getting swarmed by fans. They're getting hounded down everywhere. It makes it feel like the entire world is talking about this one person, where that's probably not the reality. I always find that really annoying, where it's like, everybody's talking about what the next Bruce Springsteen album. I enjoyed that they made him feel like just a normal person, where I know he wasn't as famous as he is now at this time in 1981, 1982, but he was able to walk down the street normally. He goes to a restaurant with his manager normally, even goes back home and has pretty normal interactions where you can tell that people around him are still like in awe of him just a little bit, but it's not so much like, oh my gosh, there's Bruce Springsteen. So it doesn't really embellish in a way to make it so larger than life. I enjoyed that part of it, but also I found myself saying maybe they should have embellished just a little bit, because I love Jeremy Allen White. He's a fantastic actor, is so committed in every scene. I think it is his performance that really draws me into the character of Bruce Springsteen. And although I didn't leave this movie a bigger Springsteen fan, I did leave this movie a bigger Bruce or Brucey fan as him as a person, because I think it was a vulnerable story to put out there. All the demons he was fighting, his relationship with his father was really powerful. And I think this movie almost could have come later, which is weird to say, I know, but I almost want the entire Bruce Springsteen story told with Jeremy Allen White, so maybe we could create two versions. I also think we're getting at a point where we need to create a music biopic cinematic universe where eventually, much like the Avengers, all these musical icons just meet up for one movie. We had the Bob Dylan movie. Now we have the Springsteen movie. We had the Elvis movie a few years ago. We have 4 individual Beatles movies coming. We also have a Michael Jackson movie coming. So I know all their careers probably don't line up, but it's a cinematic universe. We can break some rules here. We get to a point where all these musicians end up coming together much like the Avengers, and you have all these amazing actors portraying these icons for a big team up. Maybe we make a We Are the World movie where everybody's in one room together, and it's much like the Avengers coming together, like, Avengers, assemble! All you rock stars, get into this room and take down the musical walls. I don't know, do something heroic. Yeah, Michael Jackson picking up Thor's hammer. That would be fantastic. I feel like I wish all of these biopics existed in one studio so we could get something like that. And I know that's probably what a lot of people would hate to see, because the Marvel method to making movies, a lot of people have a problem with it, saying it's destroyed Hollywood, even though I feel like it has kept it afloat for the last 15 years. But that would be amazing to see, because I almost want a Deliver Me From Nowhere 2, where we do get him going into his superstardom era. I think there is more story to be told here. So even though I enjoyed the movie for what it was, I thought it was going to be a little bit more next level. I also thought maybe Jeremy Allen White would be in the conversation for Best Actor. I don't think his performance was enough to even have a look at that. I think this movie is more for the really big Bruce Springsteen fan who knows the lore behind his career. But I think for somebody who, like me, maybe only knows a couple of songs, wouldn't be in your top maybe even 50 artists, maybe even 100 artists. I don't think it was enough to win us over right now. I also don't know if this story really demanded the big screen. For Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, I give it 3.5 out of 5 bosses.